Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to this little Friday edition of How to Overcome Your Mind Monkeys. I've just put in my little headline here about, do you ever make amazing plans but then struggle to stick to them because of doubts, indecision, or just general faffing? And then here I am, slightly faffing because I don't have LinkedIn ready to have a little nosy at on the good old iPad. So I'm just trying to discover that there. I feel I've got a face full of hair. Anyway, enough faffing. Let's get cracking. So I should be live with you today in my Facebook group, the Business Growth Community, hopefully on my LinkedIn profile, and also going live on YouTube as well. Isn't it amazing what technology can do these days? So wherever you're watching from, hello, good afternoon. So somebody says, where's Dave? So I'm guessing that is going to be Chris, because I can't see that comment, Chris. So today I'm talking about mind monkeys, because so many people I talk to know exactly what they want to do in their business. Quite often they know how to do it, but they still get in their own way. They still get stuck on all the what ifs. What if I do this and then somebody else might do that? What if I do this and then nobody else does that? They still get stuck on all the stuff like, am I really good enough? Do I really know what I'm talking about? Do people really want to buy from me? Who wants to listen to me? All this kind of stuff that can massively get in the way. Oh, and that's the perfect time for the cat to start howling at me. Just let the cat out, not faffing at all. There you go. So mind monkeys or mind cats we have this afternoon. But so the short answer to what I'm talking about is that you can have the best laid plans in the world, but if you have doubts, insecurities, or you just allow your general mindset to get in the way, then the best laid plan is actually never going to turn into action, because you simply just can't get on with it. So I'm going to talk to you today about how to make a difference with that, how to keep yourself more focused, more positive, and really centered on action rather than on indecision. So here's what I want you to think about is I'm going to talk to you about a principle, and this is a straight steal. I will give absolute credit. This is a straight steal from a global coaching organization called Action Coach. And there is a slide, perhaps I should have had the slide ready for you. There is a slide that they use, which is called, are you above or below the line? Now, the simple principle here is that we don't have a choice about events, circumstances, situations that crop up in our businesses, in our lives, whatever it is, all the stuff that happens. And let's face it, the world is kind of crazy at the moment. It's been a crazy couple of years. So if you think about all the things that have been thrown at us over the last 2 or so years, there is an awful lot of that which we have no choice in. We had no choice in whatsoever. But what we always have a choice in is how we respond. Now, we spend our entire lives developing instinctive responses, so we don't have to think about them at all. We just quite literally react. And in many cases, we believe that is who we are. My reaction is who I am. That's the person I am. Take me or leave me. These are my habits. These are my behaviors. These are so kind of embedded within me that these things aren't changeable. The way I react to certain situations is just not changeable. It's out of my control. But this is not true. It's also not true that you can just decide with the click of a finger to change the way that you react to things. You know, if you're somebody that's really easily triggered by social media, if you're somebody that suffers really badly with comparisonitis, if you're somebody that suffers with a lack of confidence, as soon as you see somebody else doing something you think you should be doing, you can't just click your fingers and decide to make a change to that overnight. However, you can decide that today is the first day of your journey to make that change. It's not an instant change. It's not necessarily a fast change, but it is something that you can change over time. You can change your habits, you can change your reactions, you can change your behaviors, and you can adapt all of these things to make you more resilient, more level-headed, more objective, and more action-focused. So here's what to think about is the old adage about are you above or below the line? So below the line, I often talk about this as being just typically British, if I'm honest. So below the line is things like good old blame, excuses, denial. So why have you not completed the actions on your plan, or why have you not launched that new product, done that new thing that you said you were going to do, created that new page, whatever it is? Why haven't you done that? And listen to your own responses at that point in time. So even if this is you challenging yourself about why am I not making progress, just challenge yourself to think about those responses and what is it that comes back to you. Is it excuses? Now, of course, another word for excuses is reasons, justifications, and we are that, you know, as a human species, we are phenomenal at justifying why we don't do something. We can use this little monkey up here to give us a million reasons why it's absolutely right and fair that we have not achieved certain things we said we were going to. But just listen to yourself more closely when these situations happen. When you're not doing something that you want to do, that you've promised to do, that you've said you're going to do, think about what is it that's coming back to you. Are you just giving yourself reasons or justifications? Because that's most people's default setting, if I'm completely honest. And where you need to switch that to is, let's get away from these reasons and these excuses, and we need to move to a place of taking real responsibility and holding ourselves accountable. So we're talking ownership, accountability, and responsibility. So these are the things that will move you forward in your business. So let's think about a couple of examples. Let's say you've got a really awkward customer. Let's say somebody is being hard to communicate with, maybe they're being a bit snippy about paying their bills. You're just finding them really, really hard work. Ask yourself the question, what can I do differently here? What many people do in that situation is that they immediately say the customer is just an arse. It's all down to them. The customer is an arse. You know, we see a lot of outrage online about people that don't pay bills on time. But what I also see an awful lot of people do is be really casual and really lenient, and just really chilled out about chasing customers when they're late. Whereas if you actually hold yourself accountable and you take ownership of that situation, then your customers will be much clearer about when bills should be paid, because you will have set all of that out clearly, because you've taken responsibility for it. So when you find yourself in these really difficult spots and not sure how to move forwards, and not sure why you're stuck, really ask yourself, how can I take more ownership at this moment here? How can I kind of park all of these reasons and excuses and turn those into an action plan? What can I take responsibility for? What is it here that's actually within my power? Because when you sit in that place of reasons and excuses, you are in a victim mentality, and that just perpetuates. So you will constantly find yourself stuck. Whereas when you move into that place of taking ownership and holding yourself accountable for things, you're looking forward, you're learning, you're taking responsibility, and you are in victor position. So then you can start to make a real difference. Now, perhaps you're a bit of a worrier. I do have some clients that are perpetual worriers, and I hopefully help them to kind of move out of that perpetual worrying phase. Let me just give me 2 ticks while I just try and double check the old LinkedIn, see if I can actually find me on there, because I can't see the comments. If you're on Facebook, I can see any comments and things on here, but if you're on LinkedIn, it doesn't actually pull them through to this funky thing I'm using called Be Live. Of course, this is the moment when oh, there, can I get to that bit there? Fab, I can. Oh, look. Oh, interesting. Jason, I can see you there, Jason. I'm sorry I haven't responded to any of your comments. You've been chatting away to me. You've asked a question about mantras, sayings, mood wall. That's a really interesting question. Affirmations are something I'm sure you will have come across, Jason, and something that a lot of people use in business. And it's really interesting how I see these used in many different ways. And I look at them sometimes and feel like people aren't necessarily using them in the best of ways. So an affirmation is essentially a statement that begins with I am. So it goes right to the heart of your identity. So the words I am are something that really lock deep into your subconsciousness. And if you were to listen to the things that you say to yourself, you'd probably be amazed at how much of it is actually incredibly negative. And often the way we speak to ourselves is a way we would not dream of speaking to anybody else. The classic sort of, oh, I'm stupid, I'm always this, I'm no good at this, oh, I am terrible at such and such. And we drill ourselves with these messages constantly and quite relentlessly. So you can shift those messages, and I'm going to really skim over it and make it sound ridiculously simple. I am totally oversimplifying it. But if you think about some of those messages that you regularly give to yourself, what are the things that you quite regularly say, I am no good at? So for instance, if you say, I am no good at sales, you might even say, oh, I'm just no good at business, or I've got no aptitude for marketing, or something like that. If that's a message that you constantly tell yourself, then chances are you'll certainly never get great at sales or marketing or whatever it is you're talking about. But actually, if anything, you'll probably get worse because you're just talking yourself down and down and down. So with an affirmation, if you shortcut everything, then your affirmation would suddenly become, I am amazing at sales. Now, this can work over time because you can reprogram your subconsciousness, and your subconscious doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. It's almost its weakness and its greatest strength at the same time. So you can reprogram it in that way. But what you have to watch for, and this is where I see people miss the point on this sometimes, is what you can't do is tell your subconscious something which it fundamentally disagrees with. So if you think you are an absolute disaster at sales, then creating an affirmation that says, I am an amazing saleswoman, or I am fabulous at sales, your subconscious at that point is going to go, you are just being an idiot. This is absolutely not true. So if you've got something where your gut reaction just goes, absolutely not, don't believe this, I am not buying this at all, then an affirmation absolutely won't work for you. But what you can do is you can move yourself down that pathway. So using things like becoming or improving is a really good way to move yourself closer to becoming fabulous at sales. You're changing the message away from I am terrible at sales. You're not trying to convince yourself that you're brilliant at something that at this stage you know you're not brilliant at. But you're just making that move down that pathway. So for something where you constantly think, I am absolutely rubbish at that, if you create an affirmation, which you say to yourself consistently on a daily basis, I am becoming better at sales every day. I am becoming better at marketing every day. I am improving my marketing skills each week. Your subconscious can't disagree with that because it is true. As long as you're making a bit of effort there, then it's going to be true. But you're also not saying anything that's really outlandish. So you can start to change those messages that you give to your subconscious self, because those are probably the most critical messages that you will ever get. Nobody else will ever be as rude to you as you probably are to yourself, which is kind of scary in a way, isn't it? Just catching up with some of Jason's comments. Habits should be changed in stages, not all at once. Rome wasn't built in a day and need to be realistic. Yeah, I would also say with that is one of the things I often see people do is they say, right, it's a bit like the New Year's resolutions thing, and we kind of go, right, as of now, I'm sick of this, that, and the other. I'm really frustrated that I never do this, this, and this. So from today, I'm going to be amazing. Somebody might say, I'm sick of being completely disorganized. So as of today, I've got a new diary. I'm using a new appointment system. I've got a new filing system. I've got a new notepad. I'm using a new system with Trello or Asana or stuff like that. And I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And for 3 days, it's absolutely amazing. But by the time you've gone through a week, you are just exhausted, because what you're trying to change are such deeply embedded and such long held habits that you're just working completely out of your comfort zone. So if that's the sort of situation you're in, where you get really frustrated about what you see as a flaw in your working pattern or something like that, choose one small thing to change. And this is where I also think that breaking down the breaking down your goals and plans for your business into much smaller chunks will really help you with this. So this is where, for instance, that I typically talk to people about having 12-month goals. Because for most people, anything beyond that just feels completely unrealistic. It's just sort of pie in the sky. It's so far away that it just doesn't feel current or relevant. So 12 months is current, it's relevant, it's kind of touchable. But then underpin that with 3-month goals and a week-by-week action plan to see you through those 3 months. So if you think about the things that you would love to change over the course of a year, and you make one key theme each quarter, then actually you can make quite a few small changes over the course of a quarter, but you don't have to be making massive changes all at once. So don't fight against yourself and try and convince yourself that you're somebody that's completely different to who you are, or that you can immediately start to work in a completely different way. And just don't overwhelm yourself with trying to change things constantly. Just go with that little and often. Change one small thing each week or even each fortnight. Even if you change one small thing once a month, that would be 12 changes over the course of a year that would be really significant for you in the course of a year. Whereas what I actually see is most people try and make those 12 changes in the next week or two, and then within 2 or 3 weeks, it's all got too much. All 12 changes have gone out the window, and you've convinced yourself again that you're terrible at organisation. In some ways, you've set yourself up to fail, and actually you've proven to yourself now how terrible you are at organisation. So other things that you can look at from the good old mind monkeys. One thing I see an awful lot of is comparisonitis. I can honestly say comparing yourself to others never brings a positive result. Never. I don't know anybody who, goes and has a nosy at their competition and then says, I've realised I am fabulous at what I do. I'm the best person out there. My prices are great. My delivery is great. I'm so pleased that I've done that. Even people who are fabulous and incredibly successful will go through that process of comparing themselves to others, and they will find things that they are really unhappy about as a result, because we are self-critical, and nobody else will be more critical about you than you are yourself. So if you know you're somebody that suffers from comparisonitis, do something different. Find out the people that trigger you and stop following them on social media, or mute them, or whatever it is you need to do. Unsubscribe from their mailing lists. Disconnect with them if you need to on social media. But whatever you do, don't keep dragging yourself back to that place where you force yourself into the position of comparisonitis. If you're going to insist on comparing yourself to others, then ask yourself the question, what is it I do that these people don't do? What is it I'm really good at that these people are perhaps mediocre at? Because what I tend to find is that people completely underestimate and undervalue the things that they are good at. They'll immediately see everybody else's great traits, most of which are a fib, by the way. Let's face it, we know that we're all just seeing a mask and a veneer on social media anyway, so we don't need to worry too much about that. But if you know that that is your thing, comparisonitis, if you know it's one of your downfalls, then just find a way to nip it in the bud. Stop looking at those people. No, that sounds really simple, doesn't it? Stop looking at those people. But it's true. Literally, stop the things that allow you to compare. So, if you're going out of your way to go and hunt people down and compare, well, then you need to think about how do you just spend less time on social media. But if it's just the fact that you keep seeing adverts from people, or other people are talking about somebody or other, if there's somebody specific that keeps stealing your customers, or just seems to be the person in your industry that's standing out at the moment, just find ways through your own information cycle to be able to turn down the volume on that person, that business, whatever it is. But also the thing to recognize is customers appreciate you for who you are. Think about your own customers. Think about the people that appreciate you. If you are feeling a little bit of comparisonitis or you're feeling a bit down on yourself, one of the best things I would suggest you do is go back and have a look at all your testimonials. Go onto LinkedIn and go and read through your recommendations, because I would put good money on there being things in there which you completely take for granted, things that you've totally forgotten that customers have said about you, and there will be things in there that actually make you feel really bloody good about yourself, and they will remind you just how good you are at what you do. And actually, you need to do things like that to combat the inner voice, which is always very happily telling you and reminding you about the things that you're not that good at. So yeah, it's a good thing to kind of go out of your way and remind yourself why you're actually good at the things that you do. Yes. Now, if indecision is one of your big challenges, I think indecision is a thing that hits a lot of people, really. And it's quite fascinating that so many people can be incredibly decisive when they work for somebody else, when they've got a job, when they do whatever in their normal lives. Normal, are any of us normal? But in their life outside business, there are an awful lot of people that can be incredibly decisive, and yet can find in business that they just become indecisive, that they get into analysis paralysis, that they're questioning every decision. They are constantly going down that what if route. They're very much doing the catastrophizing and thinking about all the things that might ever go wrong. Now, if you are one of these people that find yourself just really getting stuck and struggling to move forward, struggling to make a decision and take that step, even though you know that naturally you're a decisive person, and the indecision almost becomes a spiral in itself, because then you end up frustrated about your indecision. So you become indecisive because you feel frustrated, but then you get more frustrated, which makes you more indecisive, and then you get frustrated about being indecisive, and you go on this vicious spiral of just being frustrated and indecisive. One of the best things that you can do, and it will probably sound a little bit daft, but try and look at your business from the outside. Think about, imagine this business was somebody else's. Think of it, let's say it's my business. Let's suddenly say, stick me in your shoes and imagine that you are now looking at this business from the outside, and think about what advice you would give. If this was my business, what advice would you give to me? So very often you can find a way to take a step back from your business by asking yourself, what advice would I give somebody else in this situation? Because when it's you and you're in the thick of things, it becomes emotional. That's the biggest difference between advising somebody else and advising yourself. It's the biggest difference between working for somebody else and working for yourself. I'm getting confused with my wording now. Is emotion. Because all of a sudden this thing is your baby and you take it personally. You take what your customers think about you personally. You take what you think about you personally. And that can actually be a huge mind monkey. That can massively get in the way. Oh, I've just remembered something else I wanted to share with you. Oh, and another one. So the emotion piece can really get in the way, but you can calm that emotion down by asking yourself, what would I say to somebody else here? If a friend was in this situation and they asked me for advice, what would I say? How would I advise them? That can just help you to get that little bit of distance and to calm the emotion and to look at your business more objectively, because beyond all shadow of a doubt, it is much easier to tell somebody else what they need to do about their business than it is to see that for yourself. You can always see exactly what somebody else needs to do, just like that. But trying to see that and trying to gain that clarity for yourself can be so much harder. So what advice would you give to somebody else? How would you help a friend in that situation? Can really help you to change your perspective and get a much more objective view on things. So that can be really helpful when you're feeling stuck and indecisive. And if you are a worrier, there is a cracking little exercise, and it seems ridiculously trivial, but can be incredibly helpful. There are a couple of my clients in particular who they've suffered from quite a lot of anxiety. It's not just a general day-to-day worry, but they do suffer with a bit of a history of anxiety, and they do get themselves really troubled with things. And there's this one tiny little, I'm not even sure you go as far as saying an exercise, but just a little thought process actually, which says, imagine that throughout your life, you have a string of worry beads, and this string of worry beads will have to last you for your whole life. And on this string of beads, there are 100 individual worry beads. So you've only got 100 things you're allowed to worry about over the course of your life. And then the next time something is really frustrating you or worrying you or getting you down, just ask yourself, of my 100 beads on this worry bead stringamajig, I've lost my train there, haven't I? I've only got 100 beads on this worry string. Is this worth one of my 100 beads? Is this actually something that is significant enough that it's going to be one of my top 100 worries throughout my life? Or actually, is this quite trivial? And it's remarkable how that can just give you that shift in perspective and make you realize that something which feels monumental is actually quite small. And it's the age-old thing of that the more you focus on something, the bigger and the bigger it grows. The more you worry about something, the more terrifying it becomes. You can bring in the good old adage of fear, false expectations appearing real. You can think about that on ridiculously simple levels, like being frightened of spiders. And if you ask somebody why they're frightened of spiders, it's not the spider that frightens them. It's the idea that the spider's going to get inside their ear, get into their brain, weave a web around their brain, and then squeeze it from the outside in, or something like that. I hope nobody watching has got a fear of spiders, because now you're totally traumatized. But what you see from that is that is an absolutely false expectation. But when you spend your life with that fear of spiders, the fear itself will just grow and grow. So next time you feel quite fearful about something in business, maybe that's about a sales meeting, maybe it's about a new product launch or something like that. If you feel genuinely worried and genuinely fearful about it, just remind yourself that fear is a false expectation appearing real. So at that point, just bring yourself back to what's reality here? What evidence do I have? What truth is there right in front of me right now? Not speculation, not trepidation or anything like that. Don't enhance or escalate the worries. Just ask yourself, what's the truth and what evidence do I have right now? And where is this a false expectation that I am allowing to appear real? So just a little reminder there that I started that bit by talking about your 100 worry beads, your string of 100 worry beads that have to last you for your whole life. And next time you find something that worries you, just ask yourself, does this deserve one of my 100 beads? Or actually, is this quite trivial? And then the last little exercise I'm going to share with you will probably sound really daft when I talk about it, but it's a 2-minute exercise that can really help you with just a shift in your mindset. If you're getting yourself perhaps a little bit bogged down, or you're just feeling a bit, whether it could be lethargic, miserable, demotivated, frustrated, or just kind of feeling generally stuck, when your mojo has deserted you, ask yourself these 2 little sets of questions. Ask yourself, what am I thinking? What am I doing? What am I saying? What am I feeling? So what am I thinking? What am I saying? What am I doing? What am I feeling? So let's say you've got a meeting coming up, you're feeling terrified about it. What am I thinking? I'm thinking that these people probably throw me out. They're going to be rude to me. They're not going to like me. They're going to think I'm an idiot. I'm thinking that it's going to be confrontational. I'm thinking I'm really not going to enjoy it. And do this out loud, because then you can kind of hear how much you're embellishing this. So that's what I'm thinking. What am I feeling? I'm feeling really worried about this. I'm feeling like I don't want to go. I'm feeling like maybe I'm not cut out for this. What am I saying? I'm saying that I'm not very good at sales. I'm not very good at these meetings. I'm saying maybe I shouldn't do this. What am I doing? I'm doing nothing. I am worrying. I am stressing. I am achieving nothing. I'm driving myself in circles. And then ask yourself, what should I be thinking? What should I be saying? What should I be feeling? What should I be doing? What should I be thinking? I should be thinking about how I need to prepare for that meeting. I should be thinking about how to make an impression. I should be thinking about how to present my product. I should be thinking about whether I need to up my prices. I should be thinking about what to take to the meeting, what I'm going to wear to the meeting, what time to turn up. I should be thinking about how I'm going to be absolutely amazing. What should I be feeling? I should be feeling excited. I should be feeling motivated. I should be buzzing about the opportunity that I've got here. What should I be saying? I should be saying this could be something that's fantastic for my business. I should be saying these people could be an amazing client for me. I should be saying this income could be massive for me. What should I be doing? I should be getting off my arse and making this happen. And you can literally go through that exercise in 2 minutes. If you say it out loud, you'll be amazed at how that influences your thoughts and your feelings just through actually getting that immediate feedback of hearing yourself say those things. But just literally go through those questions. You don't even have to use all 4. You could just use 2 of them or 3 of them. But the total questions are, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I saying? What am I doing? What should I be thinking, feeling, saying, doing? Just literally go through that. You could do it in 2 minutes, and 9 times out of 10, the shift in your mindset is massive and really rapid. So those are my little gifts to you today if you are struggling with any mind monkeys. If you have listened to some of this today and you think it is helpful, but you just need that little bit more impetus to really get cracking with your action plan in your business, then drop me a direct message and we can chat about how I can help you with that. But now I will leave you to go and enjoy the rest of your Friday. If you watch this back later on replay, I would love you to just drop in a little hashtag replay, because it's always nice to know that people have watched and listened. And if you have any questions and you haven't popped them in, and if you watch this later and you have any questions, please feel free to keep dropping those into the comments, and I will keep an eye on them and more than happily come back and chat away with you in the questions and the comments. But thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you all live online at some point in the very near future. Now, if you're in Facebook, I'm just going to let this run for a minute, because LinkedIn's always about 20 seconds behind. And as soon as I stop it here, it just chops off on LinkedIn. It doesn't wait 20 seconds to chop me off. It just chops off straight there and then. So I'm just trying to work out when LinkedIn's got to a place where it feels like it's caught up. I've said all my relevant bits, and I can just bugger off and leave you all to it. It's got to be there at some point, hasn't it? I just seem to be dithering down there now in the corner. Right, I think that's going to be enough. I've waffled on far too long already. Thank you, folks, for tuning in, and I will see you all very